Hello everyone, this is the NPC Summoner Showcase video. The NPC Summoners will be released in Pippi version 3.8.0, which, if everything goes right, should be sometime next week, fingers crossed. NPC Summoners are the successor to the NPC Spawners, which are a Pippi tool to spawn in NPCs within Conan Exiles world. With the NPC Summoners, they bring with them a lot of new goodies in comparison to the NPC Spawners, that is. So if we look at the NPC Spawner, we can see here that the UI is pretty cluttered. Everything's all just smushed on the screen. It's still got Pippi's old yellow color scheme. You're limited to one NPC to be spawned from this, and you just define how many of that NPC will spawn from this. You're also limited to the placement of the NPC spawner, so NPCs will only spawn from the NPC spawner, sorry. And all of these issues have been brought to me by the community, and that's why the NPC Summoner has been created. Instead of replacing the NPC spawner, I wanted to keep compatibility with what setups people currently have. So the NPC Summoner is a whole new tool in its entirety. So we can put him to rest. Now, the NPC Summoners look different, so they still look like an egg. Things hatch from eggs. I guess that's the ideology behind it. NPCs are no different. So if you look here, it is completely different in its color, though. So it's got this like glowy red, evil, devilish appearance to it. And if we place one down and bring up its settings, we can already see here that it's completely different to the NPC spawner. We can see here in the top left corner the ability to create waves. So NPC summoners allow wave-based spawning, so it's not just a single NPC that spawns now. You can define waves and then populate each wave with a list of NPCs that you want. You have wave configurations, so the wave delay, how long between waves it is, and this is configurable on a per wave basis. So you can have two waves that are really close together, or you could have, two waves close together and then there's like a pause for about 30 seconds or something so people can recoup, and then it goes again. You can also define T events on the start and end of the wave. Now, I'm not going to go into T events right now because that's a whole nother monster, but they are really fucking cool. You can define how many NPCs you spawn. So each entry NPC into a wave, you can specify the amount of NPCs from that one NPC. You can specify the spawn location. We'll get into that very soon. Modifiers. Modifiers allow you to basically manipulate things like health, damage, XP given, how much that they are modified by, and the chance on spawn of that modification being applied to that NPC. Now, this is on an NPC spawn basis, so if you were to spawn, say, for instance, 5 rabbits, each of those rabbits would then have, like if we had this to 50 and the modifier value to, say, 100, then each rabbit has a 50% chance to get a health increase of 100, if that makes sense. Death kits. Now, death kits are similar to the way that they worked in the NPC spawner, being that when an NPC dies, a kit is spawned on their corpse. So it's like their drop, I guess you can say. And if you're creative, you can actually do some pretty cool things by having the same NPC listed many times within a wave and change the kits on that. So you could have like 5 rabbits spawn, and then there's an extra rabbit that does spawn as well, but that one rabbit has a kit. And then obviously here we have NPC killed, and that is also a T event. But like I said before, we're not going to go into T events right now because it's a lot to go through. So what we will do in this video is we will basically set up spawns, which I haven't covered just yet. We'll populate it with a few NPCs, and then I'll just basically take you through the initial setup of an NPC summoner. And yeah. Alrighty, so let's set up a basic NPC summoner. So we'll place an NPC summoner into the world. It doesn't need to be smack bang in the room like this one is. Like with the NPC spawners, you needed to place them you know, in the vicinity of where you wanted the NPC spawn, because they spawned relative to the NPC spawner. With the NPC Summoner, that's no longer the case. You're able to define spawn points remotely. So first we'll open him up. We'll click on the Spawn Locations tab. You'll need to check Show Spawns. If you don't check this and click Apply, then when placing your spawn points, they'll just disappear into existence, because the NPC Summoner isn't visually displaying them on your client. So by checking that, it tells the NPC Summoner that you want to see where the spawns are located. And then it's just a simple case of clicking Add Spawn Location. As you can see here, Pippi's placement system has been invoked, and it's now placing the spawn points for the NPC Summoner. And really, to define a spawn point, it's as simple as just 1, 2, 3. So you can just place them down like that. So now that's 3 spawn points that we can reference within the NPC Summoner. But then on top of that as well, you can also adjust the spawning scale by adjusting the scale within Pippi's placement system on the spawn location. And this is separate to the modifiers in the NPC configurations. So we have 3 spawns here, and if we open up our NPC Summoner, we can see we have spawn point 1, spawn point 2, and spawn point 3. From here, so that you can categorize or plan out your spawns easier, you can give it a custom name. So we can call this rabbit spawn, like so. So then we can visually see in the list that this is our rabbit spawn, and then we can go one step further and actually select a color for it, like so. We can see that he is now green, he is now blue, and he is now red. So once you've defined your spawns like this, you can then go back over to the config panel. And we've got wave 1 selected because that's the wave that we want to be modifying. We now want to add an NPC. In this case, we will add a rabbit, like this. And then we can define the spawn points. Now, if we look here, we have the 3 spawn points that we have defined just prior, and then we also have 2 extra options up the top: random spawn and sequential spawn. What random spawn does is when the NPC is spawned, it will randomly pick one of the spawns between the list of spawn locations that you have. Sequential spawn will iterate through them. So it'll go spawn 1, spawn 2, spawn 3, spawn 1, spawn 2, spawn 3. And it starts at the beginning on each wave. So when wave 1's done and then wave 2 initializes, then the sequential spawns will then start from the beginning of the list again. So if we look here and we go sequential spawn, and then we select 3, so we only want 3 rabbits, and then we check the auto wave cycle. Now what auto wave cycle was, this may change in the release because I kind of don't like what this is named, but just a basic description of it is NPC summoners by default wait to be invoked by the T event system. That way you can control them manually using the T event system, which I haven't gone over just yet. But if you want an NPC summoner to function just like an NPC spawner, in that it automatically initializes itself and then goes through the list, the wave, sorry, then you'll check this. And when you hit apply, you will see that our bunny rabbits have each spawned at one of the locations. To create a new wave, you just click the add wave button, and then you can see here that wave 2 has now become an option. And then when you select wave 2, you then have the settings all over again. And from here, we can add spawn. This time, we'll do deer. You selected. We'll make 3 of these as well, and we'll also put them sequentially. So now if we hit apply, and quickly change the time of day because no one likes being in the dark, you can see we have our 3 spawns. We've got a rogue rabbit. Oh no, I'm just blind. So if we kill these, 1, 2, 3, and then the deer have now spawned. Now, when we kill these deer, 1, 2, 3, then it goes back to the first wave, and it's just a complete cycle. What else do I need to show? Or what else can you do? So another thing that you can do is if you wanted like a single drop on an NPC. So like say for instance on wave 1 we wanted just one of the rabbits to have a drop. What you can do is add another rabbit like so, and we'll decrease the amount on this one by 1, and this one's 1. We'll have that sequential because sequential will still go on, so these two and then this one, it will still go through the list. But then on this wildlife rabbit we want it to spawn, oh yeah, we want it to spawn a we want it to spawn a kit. So then now if we hit apply, the rabbits have spawned. Is that the one that had the kit? I don't think it is. No, it's not. Is that the one? Nope. So this is the lucky one. So now if we kill this one, there we go. It has Patrick Star. And the deer have now spawned. But basically, that's a very simple rundown on the NPC summoners. There's far more creative ways that you can use them, especially when working with the T event system. Yeah, but I'm not going to go into that right now because that's going to take even longer, and this video is already ridiculous. So I'm going to leave you with that, and I will make another video explaining the T events, and we'll come back to this NPC spawner and show how we can apply that and utilize the T event system to its full potential. So just a few things that you can do. You could have like globs up here, each indicating, you know, a stage within the wave. So you could have, you know, globe 1, globe 2, globe 3. They're all red when it's wave 1, it turns green. Wave 2, the second one turns green. Wave 3, it turns green as well, so it's like a visual representation in the world. You can then have the NPC summoner spawn or triggered from like these T plates, the T sequences, T times. Now T times, actually I'm not going to go into this, I'm sorry, but yeah, so I'll make another video and we'll go further in depth of the new tools that are coming out and the T event system, and until then, yeah, have fun.